Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Safe Simple Sound podcast, College Planning Edition. I'm your host today, Sam, and I'm thrilled to have you join us today as we tackle a topic that's on the minds of so many families: paying for college and understanding those ever-increasing college costs. At Safe Simple Sound, we're all about helping you seize financial control and understand financial choices, two of our core secured beliefs. And today's episode is perfectly aligned with that mission. We'll be unpacking a really insightful article titled Understanding Today's College Costs: What Every Family Needs to Know, and using it as a springboard for our discussion. To access this article, please sign up for our newsletters. Details are in the show notes. This article really hits home because it highlights the stark reality of today's higher education costs. It presents a clear, data-driven picture, and 2 points really jumped out at me. First, the sheer gap between how much college tuition has risen over the last 2 decades versus the relatively small increase in median household income. It's a sobering reminder of the financial challenges families face. And second, that the published tuition is only the beginning. The total cost of attendance college includes so many other expenses that can really catch families off guard. So, how do we navigate this? How do we plan effectively and make sure our kids have access to higher education without drowning in debt? That's what we'll be exploring today. We've structured this episode to provide you with a comprehensive understanding of college costs and, importantly, actionable strategies. Here's our roadmap. First, we'll tackle the widening gap: college costs versus income. We'll examine those alarming statistics showing how tuition has outpaced income growth, and we'll discuss what factors are actually contributing to this problem. Next, we'll move into breaking down the true cost of attendance college. We'll go beyond the sticker price and look at all the expenses: room and board, books, transportation, the whole 9 yards, so you can have a realistic picture of what to expect. How can families really estimate and plan for the hidden expenses? Then it's on to financial aid and the power of early planning. Here we'll discuss changes in the financial aid for college landscape, the importance of the FAFSA, and, crucially, why starting early is the absolute best thing you can do. We are embracing financial flexibility here, a key element of our secured principles. We'll also consider some of the key questions, like when is the deadline for the FAFSA, and what are some of the lesser-known financial aid sources. Finally, we will be exploring strategies for managing specific college expenses. We are moving from understanding the numbers to building plans to address these costs. We'll brainstorm practical ways to minimize costs in each expense category and talk about fostering open communication about finances within the family. How can families develop those budgets for all those expenses? This is going to be a jam-packed episode filled with actionable insights, all designed to help you, as parents, reap the benefits of compound growth and eventually develop wealth and a lasting legacy. We're here to make the complex world of college financing safe, simple, and sound. So, grab a notepad, get comfortable, and let's dive in. Let's tackle a topic that's on the minds of many families, especially those with kids heading towards their teen years or even younger: the ever-increasing cost of college. We're calling this segment The Widening Gap: College Costs versus Income, and frankly, the title says it all. For years, we've heard whispers, then shouts about how expensive college is getting. But it's not just anecdotal anymore. The numbers are truly staggering. We're going to dive into some pretty stark statistics today, but don't worry, this isn't about doom and gloom. It's about understanding the reality so we can create a proactive, informed plan. Think of it like this: if you know a storm is coming, you prepare, right? You board up the windows, you stock up on supplies. This is the same idea. We're preparing for the financial storm of college costs. Our first key point, and it's a big one: college tuition has dramatically increased over the past 2 decades, significantly outpacing median household income growth. Imagine 2 runners on a track. One, representing college tuition, is an Olympic sprinter, zooming ahead. The other, representing household income, is, well, let's just say they're jogging at a leisurely pace. They're not even in the same league. And that brings us to the stark statistics. Point number 2. I want you to really absorb these numbers. Between 2000 and 2024, public four-year tuition increased by a whopping 231%. Private tuition? Up 154%. Now let's look at the median household income during that same period. It only rose by 27%. Let that sink in. Public university costs more than tripled, while income crept up by a relatively small amount. To put it in real-world terms, imagine buying a car in 2000 for, say, $20,000. If that car's price increased at the same rate as public college tuition, that same car would cost over $66,000 today. But your salary, if it only grew by 27%, would only allow you to potentially buy parts of that car. This perfectly illustrates the widening gap. So how did this happen? What contributing societal and economical factors? Well, there isn't just one single factor. Changes to state and local funding to schools, increased demand, and the rise of administrative costs have all played a part. There's also the argument about the perceived value of a college degree, which has in some ways driven up demand and allowed institutions to raise prices. But that is a topic for another day. Key point 3. This disparity makes affording college increasingly difficult for many American families, necessitating proactive financial strategies. This isn't just a problem for other people. This is impacting families across the income spectrum, except perhaps for the very wealthiest. It means that relying on the save a little each month approach that might have worked for our parents or grandparents is likely no longer sufficient. We need a more strategic and, frankly, a more aggressive approach. And of course, this leads us to key point 4. Student loan debt has become a significant concern due to this gap, affecting long-term financial stability for many graduates. We've all heard the stories. Graduates saddled with tens, even hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, delaying major life milestones like buying a home, starting a family, or even just saving for retirement. This debt isn't just a short-term inconvenience. It can have a ripple effect for decades. How does this widening gap affect our families and our decision for higher education? It's a tough question. Some families are forced to make difficult choices, choosing less expensive schools, encouraging students to work part-time, or even questioning whether college is the right path at all. The potential long-term consequences: a less educated workforce, increased economic inequality, and a generation burdened by debt. It highlights the importance for us to discuss these things, to seek aid, and to prepare as best as possible. Now, before you start feeling overwhelmed, remember, knowledge is power. Understanding this widening gap is the first step towards creating a plan. So, here's your call to action for this segment. I want you to take some time this week to examine your own family's financial situation. Even if your child is years away from college, use online resources like those referenced in the article linked in our show notes to estimate potential college cost increases by the time they're college-aged. Just knowing the projected numbers can be a powerful motivator to start planning, saving, and exploring all your options. To recap, we've discussed the dramatic increase in college tuition, how it significantly outpaces median household income growth, the resulting difficulty in paying for college, and the serious concern of student loan debt. It's a challenging landscape, but not an insurmountable one. By understanding the issue and taking proactive steps, we can navigate this financial storm and help our children achieve their educational goals. And that's a wrap on our discussion about the widening gap between college costs and income. It's a sobering reality, but remember, knowledge is power. The more we understand the challenges, the better we can prepare. And that brings us perfectly to our next topic, breaking down the true cost of college. We've all seen those headlines about soaring tuition rates, right? But the truth is, tuition, that sticker price you see on a college's website, is really just the tip of the iceberg. It's like planning a vacation and only budgeting for the plane ticket. You've got to factor in the hotel, the meals, the activities, the whole 9 yards. College is the same way, maybe even more so. So, what are we actually talking about when we say the true cost of college? Well, it's everything. It's the total cost of attendance, and it's often a much bigger number than many families anticipate. Let's break it down. First, we have that sticker price, tuition and fees. This is what most people focus on, and it's undoubtedly a significant chunk. But, and this is a big but, it's only one part of the equation. Secondly, and this is where it gets really interesting, we have room and board. Think about it. Your student needs a place to live and food to eat. Whether they're living in a dorm on campus or in an apartment off campus, these costs add up fast. In fact, according to recent data, room and board at many public universities actually exceeds the cost of tuition. Let that sink in for a moment. You could get a full tuition scholarship and still be facing massive bills for living expenses. That's like getting a free flight but still having to pay a fortune for the hotel. Now, let us address what I like to refer to as the sneaky expenses. We're talking about the hidden costs: books, supplies, transportation, and personal expenses. Textbooks can easily cost hundreds of dollars per semester. Then there's lab fees, art supplies, software, a laptop, the list goes on. Transportation, getting to and from campus, maybe even flying home for the holidays, that adds up. And of course, your student will have personal expenses, laundry, toiletries, maybe the occasional late-night pizza. These hidden costs, while seemingly small individually, can collectively add thousands of dollars to the annual bill. It's like death by 1,000 paper cuts, financially speaking. To give you a clearer picture, let's look at the numbers for the 2024-2025 academic year. For a public four-year in-state university, the average total cost of attendance is $28,730. Of that, tuition and fees are about 39%, or $11,610. Room and board? A whopping 43%, or $12,300. Those hidden costs we talked about, books, supplies, transportation, and other expenses, make up the remaining 18%, a little over $5,000. For a private nonprofit four-year university, the numbers are even higher. The average total cost is $60,260. Tuition and fees account for 68%, or $41,200. Room and board are 23%, or $14,000, and the remaining 9%, or just short of $5,000, is for the other expenses. See? The sticker price is just the beginning. So I want you to really think about this. Have you factored all of these costs into your college planning? Have you considered how much your student will actually need to live, not just to attend classes? It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of college acceptance letters, but understanding the full cost of attendance is crucial for accurate budgeting and financial planning. It's the difference between being prepared and being blindsided. How then can we minimize these expenses? Well, when considering hidden costs, for example, think about buying used textbooks, renting them, or even finding digital versions. For transportation, encourage your student to use public transit, bike or walk if possible. And how do families estimate the other expenses? A good rule of thumb is to add at least 10 to 15% to the published tuition and room and board costs to account for these extras. Key takeaways. Tuition is just one piece of the college cost puzzle. Room and board are often a larger expense than tuition, especially at public universities. Hidden costs can add thousands of dollars to the annual bill. Accurate budgeting requires understanding the total cost of attendance. My challenge to you today is this: don't just look at the sticker price. Dive deeper. Use online college cost calculators and resources from the College Board or Sallie Mae websites. These tools can help you estimate the total cost of attendance for the colleges on your student's list, factoring in all those hidden expenses. Be proactive, be informed, and be prepared. We've just wrapped up a pretty intense discussion about the nitty-gritty of college expenses. Tuition, room and board, those sneaky hidden costs. It can feel like a mountain, right? But remember, like any big climb, the best approach is preparation. And that's what we're diving into next: financial aid and the power of early planning. Think of it as gathering your gear, mapping your route, and training for the ascent. We're going to break down why starting your financial aid journey early is like having a superpower in the college planning process. It's not just about filling out forms. It's about strategically positioning yourself for the best possible outcome. The first thing to understand is that the financial aid landscape is constantly evolving. It's like a river, always shifting and changing course. There are updates to Pell Grants, the FAFSA, that's the free application for federal student aid, your key to unlocking need-based aid, and even individual colleges' institutional aid programs. Staying informed is key, but starting early gives you the time to react to those changes. For instance, the FAFSA form itself has undergone simplifications in recent years, but those changes mean understanding the new rules and how they impact your eligibility. Now, let's talk about the real advantages of that early start. First, and perhaps most obviously, more time to save. Even small, consistent contributions to a 529 plan or other college savings vehicle can make a huge difference over time, thanks to the magic of compound interest. It's like planting a tree. The sooner you plant it, the bigger it will grow. But it's not just about savings. Early planning offers significantly better access to scholarships. Think of scholarships as free money for college. Who wouldn't want that? But many of these opportunities, especially the big competitive ones, have deadlines well before college application deadlines. We're talking about merit-based scholarships, the ones awarded for academic achievement, strong extracurricular involvement, artistic talent, or athletic prowess. These often require separate applications, essays, and recommendations, and many deadlines fall in the fall of your child's senior year, or even earlier. Imagine missing out on a full tuition scholarship simply because you weren't aware of the early deadline. And then there's need-based aid. This is where the FAFSA comes in. This form is your gateway to federal grants, loans, and work-study programs. The earlier you complete the FAFSA, the better. Why? Because some aid is awarded on a first-come, first-served basis. Think of it like a concert. The best seats go to those who buy tickets early. The FAFSA typically opens on October 1st of the year before your child starts college. That used to be January 1st, highlighting the changes to keep up with. Don't wait until the last minute. Get that FAFSA submitted as close to October 1st as possible to maximize your chances of receiving the maximum aid you're eligible for. Beyond the FAFSA, completing it early also positions you well for state and institutional aid. Many colleges use the FAFSA information to determine eligibility for their own grants and scholarships. So by getting it done early, you're essentially putting your name in the hat for all these different pots of money. Another key advantage that's often overlooked: starting early allows families to explore all available options and potentially reduce reliance on student loans. When you have time on your side, you can research different colleges, compare their financial aid packages, and make informed decisions. You can investigate state-specific grant programs, look into private scholarships, and even consider options like community college for the first 2 years to save on tuition. It's about having the flexibility to choose the path that's best for your family's financial situation, rather than feeling rushed and pressured into taking on excessive debt. So let's recap. Early planning for financial aid isn't just a good idea, it's a strategic advantage. It gives you time to save, improves your chances of securing scholarships, maximizes your eligibility for need-based aid, and ultimately empowers you to make informed choices that can minimize student loan debt. And it's never too early to start researching. One of the guiding questions that often comes up is, what are other options for financial aid beyond FAFSA and Pell Grants? And the answer is a lot. There are employer-sponsored tuition assistance programs, scholarships offered by community organizations, and even specialized grants for specific fields of study. The key is to start digging. Here's your call to action for today. Create a timeline for college planning. Right now. Seriously, grab a piece of paper, open a note on your phone, whatever works for you. Mark down key deadlines: the FAFSA opening date, scholarship application deadlines, and any other relevant dates. And then start researching potential scholarship opportunities. Websites like FastWeb, scholarships.com, and the College Board's Big Future are great places to start. Remember, the college financial aid journey can seem daunting, but with early planning and a proactive approach, you can navigate it successfully. Last segment, we really dug into the daunting overall cost of college and the importance of early planning. It can be overwhelming, I know, but the good news is, while we can't magically make college free, there are absolutely concrete steps we can take to manage those individual expenses. So today, we're going beyond the big scary tuition number and getting practical. We're talking strategies, real, actionable things you and your student can do to chip away at that total cost of attendance. Think of it like this. You're not trying to move a mountain all at once. You're taking it one stone at a time. And those stones, in our case, are textbooks, room and board, transportation, and those sneaky other expenses that always seem to pop up. First up, textbooks. Let's be honest, those things can cost a small fortune. The reference article we looked at showed an average of over $1,300 per year. Remember the days when you could buy a brand new car and you can get change back from $1,300? Crazy, right? But you don't have to be a victim to those bookstore prices. Our first key point is to explore options for reducing textbook costs. Think outside the box, or in this case, outside the new book. Renting textbooks either from the campus bookstore or online services like Chegg or Amazon can save you a significant amount. Buying used books is another classic move. Just make sure you're getting the correct edition. And increasingly, professors are utilizing online resources, open-source textbooks, or even providing digital materials themselves. Talk to your students' professors before the semester starts to find out what's truly required and what alternatives might be available. You might be surprised by how much you can save just by doing a little research. Next, let's tackle the big one for many families, room and board. As we saw in the reference article, this can actually be more expensive than tuition at public universities. So our second key point is to discuss strategies for minimizing room and board expenses. Now, living on campus can be a fantastic experience, fostering independence and community, but it's not the only option. Carefully consider off-campus housing. Sometimes, sharing an apartment with roommates can be significantly cheaper, especially in areas with high on-campus housing costs. Of course, safety and proximity to campus are crucial factors here. Don't just jump at the cheapest option. Weigh the pros and cons and make sure it's a safe and supportive living environment. Another angle is the meal plan. Many colleges offer different tiers of meal plans. If your student isn't a big breakfast eater or plans to cook some meals themselves, opting for a less expensive, more limited meal plan could save a substantial amount over the year. It's about finding that sweet spot between convenience and cost-effectiveness. Now, let's talk about getting to and around campus. Transportation. Our third key point encourages you to examine transportation options. If your student is bringing a car to college, factor in not just gas, but also parking permits, insurance, and maintenance. Those costs add up fast. If possible, encourage the use of public transit. Many colleges are located in areas with good bus or train systems, and some even offer discounted student passes. Carpooling with other students is another great way to share expenses. And thinking bigger picture, choosing a college closer to home can drastically reduce travel costs, especially if your student plans to come home for breaks or weekends. That might mean forgoing that dream school across the country, but it's a trade-off worth considering in the context of your overall financial plan. Okay, we've covered the big three: textbooks, room and board, and transportation. But what about everything else? That brings us to our fourth key point: the importance of creating a realistic student budget and sticking to it to manage other expenses. This is where those sneaky costs creep in: late-night pizza runs, school supplies, social events, laundry, toiletries. The list goes on. It's vital to sit down with your student before they head off to college and create a realistic budget that accounts for these other expenses. Help them understand the difference between needs and wants and encourage them to track their spending. There are tons of great budgeting apps out there like Mint or YNAB. You need a budget that can make this process easier. The key is to be proactive and avoid those surprise credit card bills later on. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, our fifth key point is to encourage open communication between parents and students about financial expectations and responsibilities. This isn't just about handing over a credit card and saying good luck. It's about having honest conversations about who's paying for what the limits are, and what the student's role is in managing their finances. Are they expected to get a part-time job? Are they responsible for certain expenses? Setting clear expectations before college starts can prevent misunderstandings and financial stress down the road. Remember, this is a partnership. You're both working towards the same goal: a successful and financially sound college experience. So let's recap. We've explored 5 key strategies for managing specific college expenses. tackling textbook costs through renting, buying used, or finding online resources, minimizing room and board by considering off-campus options or different meal plans, saving on transportation by using public transit, carpooling, or choosing a college closer to home, creating a realistic budget to manage those other expenses, and crucially, maintaining open communication between parents and students about financial responsibilities. Your call to action today is to take that first step. Develop a preliminary college budget worksheet. Start listing out those anticipated expenses: tuition, fees, room and board, books, transportation, and a category for other expenses. Then, brainstorm potential cost-saving measures for each category using the strategies we discussed today. There are plenty of free templates online, or you can simply create your own spreadsheet. This isn't about having all the answers right now. It's about starting the conversation and getting a realistic picture of what lies ahead. Remember, managing college expenses is a marathon, not a sprint. By taking these proactive steps and working together, you and your student can navigate this financial challenge and make that college dream a reality. Wow, that was a lot to unpack, but I truly hope this episode has given you a clearer, more confident understanding of today's college costs and, most importantly, empowered you to take action. We started by facing the stark reality of that widening gap between college tuition increases and household income growth, a truly eye-opening discussion. Remember those statistics? A 231% increase in public four-year tuition since 2000 compared to just a 27% rise in income. That's why understanding the true cost of attendance college is so vital, and why we spent time breaking down all those expenses, not just the sticker price. And for me, the discussion around early planning was probably the most impactful. The sooner you start, the more options you have, from maximizing savings to securing financial aid for college, including scholarships, and completing the FAFSA early. This is about more than a good strategy. It's about seizing financial control, which is one of our key secured principles. Thank you, as always, for tuning in to the Safe, Simple, Sound podcast, College Planning Edition. I truly appreciate you being part of this community. If you found this episode helpful, please take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with other families who might be navigating the complexities of paying for college. And definitely check out the show notes for links to those college cost calculators and resources we mentioned. Next time on Safe, Simple, Sound, we'll continue our deep dive into college planning. Until then, remember, knowledge is power, and early planning is key. You can navigate these challenges and help your children achieve their educational dreams. This is Sam, reminding you to stay informed, stay proactive, and keep making sound financial choices. Farewell, and have a wonderful week.